What's going on? Today we're going to make some adjustments to the Supra if we ever get to where we're going. As you can see, we're crawling along. We're going 17 miles an hour in a race car. Recently I was at Autobahn South doing a track event there, and for that track event I had set my ride height on the car really low, and I pretty much scrape on everything. I scrape on my driveway, I scrape on the trailer, I scrape on certain parts of the track. Now that I'm doing a little bit more street driving with the car, I want to put the ride height back up a little bit so that I don't scrape on everything. Also change the alignment a little bit, because at the track you change your camber, you change your toe in order to make the car handle the way you want it to on the racetrack. So what is camber? The amount that the tires tilt in or out is the camber. Negative camber is having the tops of the wheels tilt in. Why would you want to run negative camber? The reason is because of the contact patch of the tire. And to optimize the contact patch when you're cornering, because when you do circuit racing, you do a lot of corners. A lot of times you'll set your camber a little bit more negative than you would if you were just setting the car up for street alignment. Now that we're done at the racetrack, we're going to go back to the street alignment. So our goals today is to raise the ride height a little bit so that the car stops scraping on everything. And then we're going to normalize the toe in the front. We're going to set it to 0. And we're going to decrease the amount of negative camber we've got in the car and make it a little more street friendly. I don't have any scales, so what I'm doing is just using a bunch of calculations to figure out what an approximate corner balance would be with me in the driver's seat. So when I set my ride heights up, it might not be perfect, but it'll at least be close. And then to really dial it in, you need to put the car on scales, but this will probably get us close. So what I did is I plugged in a good prompt into ChatGPT and asked it for a corner weight with my weight, my car type, the type of coilovers I've got and all that. And it's giving me the information. So I need to decrease that by 43.7 millimeters. That's the entire length of that travel, which is going to slam it. Which means making it so low that the car is practically on the ground. And that might look cool at a car show, but this is a track car. This is not a fashion show, because that's only 45 millimeters high. So something isn't adding up here. At first, I tried to use ChatGPT to figure out how much I needed to move the spring at the perch, but the outputs they didn't make sense to me, so we're just winging it. We're going trial and error. Let's just move it by about 10 millimeters and see what happens. There, that's about 35. If we can't math it, we'll just trial and error it. We're gonna set this side a little tiny bit less than that, like 33 millimeters at the perch, in order to try to corner balance the car. So one thing that I think is kind of cool is if the weight's on the left side of the car, why would you make the left side lower in order to try to corner balance it? The reason is because you can think of the car like a plate that's sitting on springs instead of like a car, because the plate wants to be level. If you increase the right front, as the plate tries to level itself, it puts more weight on the right front and unloads the left rear. So that's the corner balancing concept. 33.1, I'll take it. Thanks for not making fun of my multicolored lug nuts yet. So we just got done adjusting the front ride height. When I first measured it, it was 402 millimeters. I'm going for somewhere in the ballpark of 350, 360 millimeters in the front. I'm going to try and keep about 10 millimeters of rake, where the front of the car is a little bit lower than the back. That's what I mean by rake. And we're going to go for about 10 millimeters there. And so that'd be 360, 370 in the back. We're done with the front. I went from 45 millimeters at the perch to 35 millimeters at the perch, and we'll see what that ends up when we measure the ride height. So the Supra's got a divorced rear setup. You see how the damper and the spring are two different parts in this car. That's a divorced rear suspension. instead of a true coilover where the spring would be here. So what we need to do is we need to unbolt the damper from the lower control arm and then adjust our ride height on the spring perch, and then adjust the damper to meet the lower control arm again and rebolt it in. Now we need to get that damper bolt out. This is our damper bolt. And we'll see where we're at right now. We're at 49. So in the front, we went down by 10 millimeters at the spring. In the back, the suspension ratio is a little bit different. So adjustments that we make at the spring perch are gonna result in more height difference at the wheel. So I'm gonna move it a little bit less. So if I move the front 10 millimeters, I'm gonna move the back 7 millimeters basically. This would be a lot easier if I had a coilover wrench. I mean, the wrench to do this comes with the coilovers. When you buy coilovers, I can't find it. If anybody who sees this video wants to get me a new coilover wrench, that would be awesome. All right, let's see where we're at here. All right, 39.5. There we go. $40 millimeters over there. So we're gonna go, let's see, probably 38 millimeters over here, because we wanna increase the amount of the plate on the springs that comes to this corner because the weight's on the left side. That's not safe. Okay.
That's not safe. Leaves it as is.
See where we're currently at. So we're at 52 over here. So we want to come down to 42. That would be a little more than we did on the other side. Yeah, that would be perfect. 42. All right, moment of truth on the ride height. We're gonna lower it and see where we're at. We took the back down about, 7-8 millimeters. So hopefully that matches up pretty close to where the front is and we're at least level. Maybe hopefully we'll have a little bit of rake if we're lucky. And we'll see what, 10 millimeters approximately got us on the springs. Normally after you make a suspension adjustment, you wanna roll the car to settle the suspension a little bit. We're gonna skip that step and just do it like this. Roll. So in the front, we are at, actually we're really pretty close. We're like 353. That's just about right where we wanted it. That's good. In the back, yeah, about 373 or 4. So we didn't quite lower it enough in the back because we still have, 20 millimeters of rake. That's a lot of rake. So later, we're gonna lower the back a little bit more. But we're pretty close. Yeah, this is about 351. So on this side, we're right about 372, 373. This is pretty close. Pretty close. So when you do alignment stuff, you want to make sure the car is level because that affects the way it sits. So we're gonna level the car. So I'm just gonna put the car on jack stands and make sure it's level. So they make special leveling tables that you can use to do this, but I don't have those either. All right, so after getting it adjusted on jack stands, the car is level. We got our ride height kind of dialed, and now we need to focus on alignment because when you change your ride height, it changes where your tires are at in the arc. In a Supra, as the suspension travels from compression to droop, the front wheels toe in further and the back wheels toe out further. So that's the dynamic change in the toe as the suspension moves through its arc. So if we went from a low ride height to a higher ride height, I would expect my toe to have changed a little bit. I would expect to see a little more toe in than I had set up before because the suspension's a little bit lower in its arc. The other thing that happens is bump steer. And bump steer is dynamic changes in the toe, the way that the wheels are pointed forward as it moves through the arc of motion. And the suspension kit that I've got, it's got a shimmable, adjustable bump steer system. So it should be set up pretty well for the ride height that we're at, so I'm not worried about bumps here. We're gonna see where we're at and compare it to where we were after our last alignment, and this is a gyro line, so this is how I'm gonna check the current alignment, and then if I need to change it, I can adjust it with my adjustable suspension. So now I'm gonna check the thrust alignment, which is where the front wheels are pointed relative to the back wheels. The thrust alignment is what we care more about. This is what makes our car feel good and handle good on the road. And really, I'm mainly worried about the front wheels right now because I want my car to turn straight. I'll have it professionally aligned probably before my next track day, but I'll also have to change the ride height again before that too. If you remember, we said that we think that as a result of changing the ride height, we're gonna see toe in the front and toe out in the back compared to where we used to be. And so far, that's exactly what we've seen. I've got 0.5 degrees of toe in the front, and it used to be 0. So what we're gonna do now is check the camber and then probably adjust the toe. So we would expect our camber to be a little bit less than it was, or a little bit less negative than it was when we were at the track. And at the track, it was minus 3.2 on this side, minus 3.3 on the other side. And now we're at minus 2.9, so that makes perfect sense. So, if I wanted to make the camber a little bit more streetable, what I would do is I would come up here and I would loosen this bolt in the top hat of the suspension. And then there are these little stay bolts, camber adjustment bolts. I would loosen those and I would tip the strut out a little bit to make the camber more positive, or tip it in more to make it more negative. So when I go to the track, I want more camber, like 3.5 degrees negative, but on the street, maybe 2 degrees. So I would want to loosen these up, tip this out until it says 2 degrees, and then tighten them back up. My favorite tool to use for this is actually a ball-tipped Allen wrench. This is an Allen key, and it's got a ball on it so that you don't have to be perfect with your angle. You can put it in a little bit of an angle and it'll still work. These little camber adjustment bolts only call for like 6 or so foot-pounds of torque, so they're not really super tight. But they're still tight enough that I can't turn it just with my finger at first. After the top hat change, we're at 1.92 degrees, somewhere in there, which is perfect. This is what we're shooting for. Now we'll do the other side. We moved 2 camber adjustment spots. So that's what we're gonna do over here also. The top hat's graduated so you can tell how far you're moving it. Okay, 1 and 2. And it's that easy. Okay, you know, who doesn't enjoy magnet fishing for a drop bowl every once in a while? Oh, 2.0, 1.9, 2.0. So we're right where we need to be. So now we're at ride height, so we're gonna check our toe again, and hopefully we have to adjust it. We're gonna have to adjust it. So we got our camber where we want it at the new ride height. Now we're just gonna adjust the toe because we got a little too much toe in. So as you saw before, adjusting the camber with the BBT suspension arms is super easy. You just have to adjust it in one place, and you saw me, I hit it right on the first time, accurate to the 10th of a degree. And the toe is gonna be the same way. Tie rod end right here. And there's a clamp bolt right there. So we just want to loosen the clamp bolt, leave it connected here and here. And then this is a hexagonal. You can use a crescent wrench or a wrench and just turn that, and that'll adjust our toe. So just to like make it really simple, I'm gonna do the whole thing with a crescent wrench. So we loosen our clamp bolt. I said we were gonna do about 2 quarter turns. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So there's 1 quarter of a turn, 2 quarters of a turn. All right, let's check our toe. We need to go a little bit further, but that's okay. It's that easy. We'll just get under here and do more quarter turn.
Success. So now we've got our alignment where we want it, and all we got to do is tighten the clamp bolts and put the wheels back on. There we go. So we've torqued to 140 Newton meters. Now we go for a ride.
All right, so we're done with the job, and you know, the ride height's great. We didn't scrape on anything getting out onto the road. It's really annoying when the car scrapes on everything. We're at 2 degrees of negative camber. We have 0 degrees of toe in the front, and our alignment is good. Steering wheel's straight, and the car drives straight without any help. So, all good. So I really love how simple this setup is to adjust all this stuff. I mean, it's like a couple hours in the garage and you're good to go. One thing I'm really kind of impressed with is the way that the car feels after you do the control arm upgrade. The way that I kind of talk to my friends about it is the control arm upgrade, especially going from a poly bushing to a solid bushing, is the upgrade that I never knew that I needed until I did it. It was just, it's like you think your car is responsive and you think your car performs well, and then you upgrade your control arms, you upgrade to solid bushings, and then you realize that you had no idea what you were talking about. Everybody always describes it as being more direct, or like taking the slop out of the suspension, and I never really, you know, wrapped my head around what all that meant until I did the upgrade. It's like having your hand between the tire and the road and being able to feel exactly what it's doing at all times. It's a great upgrade for the feedback that you get in the wheel, and it's a great upgrade for the way that the car moves, so your understanding of what the car is doing when you're driving it. You're able to talk back and forth with your car a lot easier. Upgrading control arms, the responsiveness you get out of the car, just how quickly it moves in response to driver input is crazy. And it's like once you go there, you can never go back.
New ride height, new camber, new toe. BBT suspension makes it super easy. My Fortunato coilovers make it super easy. You can do it in your garage. You could do it at the track. You could do it in Walmart parking lot if you wanted to. It's just fantastic.